So they're not just looking at antitrust. So that is a very, very good deal. And Tucker Carlson had an excellent piece showing how the neocon think tanks are.
Okay, dokie. Hi, Amy. Can you hear me? Um, I know you're there. Uh, must be a delay, or else she walked away. Anyway, I was going like this. Hi, my dear. I miss you so much. Wish you were here. Okay. I take it because you're the first one on, you must be all done with your daily work routine or whatever it is by the time we come on the air. Um, anyway, I'm going to be flying solo. I'm that Han Solo guy from Star Wars. Anyway, I'm going to have to fly solo because Scotty called about a half hour ago, and he has he got crowned today. He is on the throne and been not able to get away from the throne, so he is not going to be here. And look, Mr. T is still recovering. He's just now being able to start to walk after that fall that he had back at Thanksgiving. Probably will not, unless things change drastically, will probably not be here next week. But he is planning to be here the following Sunday or the first Sunday in 2020. So that's what he's shooting for. So anyway, oh, I'm waiting with bated breath for you to start the show. Well, I'm starting it, but like I said, it's going to be a little slow because I'm the only one here, and my attention span is about 0. But I do want you to know that if you look down on your screen, that I figured out why I wasn't getting the date on my programming. It kept coming up 6 whatever it was in 2019. It will now start, because I now know what I'm supposed to do. Down in the little corner there it says broadcast up, so I have to type that in, the date. Now if I can remember that, we should be cruising along, figuring out one thing at a time. An opening chug might help. Well, you know what? Calico Jack, the pirate that he is, has left me a bottle, and it just happens to be rum, spiced rum, 94 proof. So I will take a snort. Probably be only one because I have not been drinking a lot lately, and my physical problems have been causing me a lot of distress. So anyway, this is for me, this is for you, this is for the world, and sharpen your knives. Okay, how was that, folks? Did you like that one? I did. It tasted pretty good. Probably tastes better if I hadn't been smoking, but anyway, opening jug. Okay, we did that. Well, I'll put the pipe down so I can get busy. Have any of you seen any some of the headlines on the internet? It comes to our attention that Pelosi, as of the last time I heard, which was sometime today, has not delivered the letter of impeachment to the Senate so that Trump could have his day in court. Gee, I wonder if that's not obstruction of justice or contempt of the Senate, one or the other or both, the same thing that they were accusing Trump of being. But on the same token, Pelosi invited Trump to come to the House to do the State of the Union address. Now, I don't know if he has to give it at the House. I know if I was president and I didn't have to give it at the House, I do know I have to give a State of the Union at least once a year. I would do it in the Senate and tell the House to go pound salt up your ass. You want to come to the Senate and stand? Well, that's where you're going. That's where I'm doing it. So, that's just me. So, any of you out there seen anything or heard anything to change that recipe? In other words, any of you seen anything where Pelosi has delivered those papers as of yet? I don't think so, but anyway, I would like to know if there's anybody who is out in the area listening that is driving around who would like to bring me a hot cup of coffee. I've had problems today. My doggie ran off again. Layla ran off again, so we had to take time to go try and find her, which we did. Also, when I went to do it, I had a idiot light come on and tell me that I had low pressure in one of my tires. Didn't tell me which one, just low tire pressure. So I went around and I found one that was like 31 pounds when it should be 35. And the other three were at, one was at 35 and the other two were at 32. So I bumped them all up to 35, and we'll see what the idiot light does, because I have to go to Erie tomorrow because the wife and I both have a doctor's appointment. Oh yes, something else that I saw about this impeachment. I think there is a time limit in which she has in order to deliver that document, or the letter, or whatever they call it. I don't know how much time limit it is. I was going to try and look and see, but I didn't get a chance to do that because of all the other stupid things that were going on. And so, anyway, if any of you have heard anything, yeah, Trump is raking in donations with both hands. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, you dumbass Democrats got this wild idea that if they would impeach Trump, that they could sway the population. Well, they did sway the population. Trump's support continues to climb, and then the donations are coming in like crazy. And okay, what's not in the Constitution there, Bob? Is that the where Trump has to give his State of the Union? I don't think it says in here either. I can't remember, and I don't want to take time to try and look at it. I just know he has to, from time to time, give a State of the Union address. So, anyway. Time limit. Okay, there may not be a time limit in the impeachment, I don't know. But anyway, if the Democrats think they're going to be able to use this, present this in spring when the elections for the incumbents that are up for election, if they think they're going to help them or what. But I don't think so. I think that with the mistake that they made and the showing of support for Trump, that they have shot themselves in the foot. And what's the music? I hear that music too. That just came on. Let me double check things. All right, just hold on. Well, right here is where it came from. Close the window. Okay, there it goes. The radio DJ came back on for some reason or other. So, now. Yeah, okay, music going now, guys. I know it's a time delay for you to hear, but Canvas says thank you. Yeah, I don't know why that came back on. Maybe I didn't push the right button to stop it when I was doing it. And that, so, but anyhow, where was I? There were several things I was going after. Oh, Virginia. Good old state. One of the founding states of the Union. By God, Virginia. The counties, it's up to 79 last I heard. Maybe more. I don't know how many counties there are, but there may be more. Have all signed on to declaring them a Second Amendment sanctuary county, and they will not enforce the gun bans or restrictions that the new elected governor and the House and Senate may push down through them, in which case the governor has threatened to withhold funds, also threatened to take away the power of the sheriff, in other words, throw all the sheriffs out, or bring in the National Guard. I don't think that he wants to bring in the National Guard because most of the National Guard has members in their family. Of course, there are some that probably don't like their family, but that's always a given. But I don't think the National Guard will go along with that. And what needs to be done is when that comes down, arrest the son of a bitch. And go in and arrest the Congress and call for an immediate immediate new election and get rid of these things, these things in there. And if I was the state of Virginia and I had anything to do with it, I think I would organize a referendum that forbids on the state level, anybody that is a lawyer from running for office. I'll repeat that. Forbid anybody a lawyer running for office of any kind. They tried to do that with the U.S. Constitution, but according to history, if I can remember, they were just a few hours short of getting the paperwork to the state legislature or to the federal Congress to be able to install that. So yeah, it's a test for for Virginia, and by God, you better pay attention, because it can happen elsewhere in this country if the Virginia legislature and governor try to get away with this stuff. It could spread. We have a Commonwealth here in Pennsylvania, and we know what kind of a dickhead we have for a governor in Wolf. He's a well, let's just put it this way, he's pro-socialist, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth. And anyway, be that as it may, I have a few stories that I wanted to go over, but there was a couple other things I wanted to talk about. But excuse me, hey, I'm sorry, just fine now. Maybe I needed a couple, 4 more shots of that. Well, there ain't that much left. Well, anyhow. Let's see. What do I want to do here? Yes. This is something that is really, really about time. I don't know how much it's going to stick and how much it's going to hurt or how much it's going to help. But according to Newsbox, MS-13 arrests deal blow to gang leadership on Long Island. In other words, somebody finally grew some balls and went after these bastards. Authorities said Friday they have dealt an unprecedented blow to the violent MS-13 street gang, announcing charges against nearly 100 of the group's members and associates on Long Island. Now, I hate to say this, but if there's more members than that, they should have taken and round them all up. But anyway, Suffolk County District Attorney Timothy Sina revealed the sweeping indictment that he said decimates the gang's leadership and drug supplies on Long Island. He describes the case as the largest of its kind against MS-13 in New York, where the gang has been blamed for dozens of killings since 2016. The 2-year investigation by state and federal authorities thwarted more than a half dozen murder plots, Sina said, and also provided authorities insight to the gang's structure and recruiting patterns. The operation was bolstered with expansive wiretap in which the authorities monitored calls from more than 200 phone numbers. Well, if you only got 100 people and you got 200 phone numbers, what about the other 100 that were on the other end of the line? MS-13 is a ruthless, savage gang, Sin said at the news conference, pointing to the machete recovered by law enforcement, the gang's signature weapon. They will attempt to recalibrate and send individuals to take up leadership roles in Suffolk County. That's why we have to stay vigilant, yes. And if you'd have got all of them, you may not have to worry about any of them coming here because you got them all. Anyway, authorities said they seized more than 10 kilograms of cocaine, hundreds of fentanyl pills, drug ledgers, long guns, and other firearms, and more than $200,000 in cash. Is that all the cash they found? Those taken into custody include the leader of 9 so-called cliques, factions of MS-13. What you're hearing from us today is that we are more committed than ever to eradicate these gangs. Since it is the battle over? Absolutely not. Well, you're right. Until they get rid of that whole gang in this country, it'll never be over. MS-13, also known as Mara Valencia, is considered one of the top transnational organized crime threats in the United States. Violence committed by the gang, including the 2016 slayings of 2 teenage girls, helped spark an aggressive effort by FBI and the U.S. Justice Department to dismantle the gang. Well, the last estimate that I heard, there was about 13,000 members in all 50 states. So if you got 100, you still have 12,900 more to go. President Donald Trump, who visited Long Island in July 2017 to address the gang problem, has blamed the violence on gang growth, on tax, lax immigration policies. That's right, coming across the southern border. Gee, I wonder how you figured that out. Investigators have made dozens of arrests of suspected gang members in recent years as part of the crackdown on MS-13. In 2017, police arrested 15 MS members on murder and other charges following a spat of bloodshed that included the massacre of 4 young men in Long Island Park and killing of a suspected gang rival inside the deli. Their rules are violent, fear, and control of their territory, said Ray Donovan, special agent in charge of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration in New York. We will continue to push them back. MS-13 recruits young teenagers from El Salvador and Honduras. Through many gang members were born in U.S., Long Island has a large population of unaccompanied minors from Central America, including many who were fleeing the violence in their home nations. MS-13 is believed to have been founded as a neighborhood street gang in Los Angeles in the mid-1980s by immigrants fleeing a civil war in El Salvador. The El Salvador Supreme Court defined the group as a terrorist group in 2015, allowing courts to give tougher sentences to its members. Okay, I understand why they would do that. Let's see, something, read that aloud. Nancy is waiting until they have the goods on Pence so they can impeach him, and then Nancy can be president, and Hildebeest as vice president. Well, there's a lot to be said for that theory. Maybe they are holding it up to get a hold of, try and get a hold of Pence, which then will be more millions of dollars wasted, more do-nothing Congress problems, and in the meantime, Trump is trying to beef up the security of our country so that pieces like this don't have to appear. Keep the sons of bitches south of the border. Now, we know there's 13,000, we ought to be arresting them all. I don't care whether they're citizens of the United States, here legally or illegally. If they belong to MS-13, you're designated as a terrorist group from your home country, and you should be arrested and deported ex post facto. See, you're on live chat or top chat, whatever that means, live chat. So, anyway, you guys are talking about stuff I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, but that's because I haven't learned yet. I'm still learning, so just bear with me. And like I said, I was able to get the date on there, so maybe over Christmas here I can work on some other stuff. I was thinking I found a couple of CDs. I don't know if I could put them in and play them on the computer and have them go out on the wire, or if I can just take them, play them, let them come over the radio and just turn my mic on so that the radio picks, or the mic picks it up and broadcasts it over that way. I will be probably trying that out this next week to see. 'Cause I like the you're on Top Chat, you're missing stuff. Well, hey, Top Chat, I don't know what's the difference? If you can tell me how to get to lower chat. Yeah, I agree with you. Nancy is nuts and living in her own world where she's is president. I don't know if she thinks she's president, but I think she may be thinking she's queen or empress. And okay, let's see. Whatever I do tonight's probably going to be a scatter shot of whatever I feel like I want to do. And I know what I'll do when I take the halftime break. I will put the disc in and see if it will play the music. And then you kids can listen and let me know if it's coming over. I won't unplug my mic, I'll just leave it go. And you can tell me if it's coming over. Over there. Let's see. Here, I'm going to do this one. Seeing how we're talking about stupid people. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I shouldn't have said it. I don't know this guy at all, but he still looks stupid. And the way they're running these cars marked MCP sounds stupid to me. Anyway, this is off of World Net Daily. Muslim Community Patrol, that's MCP. Blue ununiformed officers of the so-called Muslim Community Patrol have been driving cars identical to New York Police Department cruisers in efforts to enforce Islamic law or Sharia law in Brooklyn neighborhoods. 1 week ago, however, the patrol was confronted by members of the notorious Blood Gang in front of the Brooklyn Mosque, according to the Clarion Project report cited by the Gateway Pundit. As the Mahajus Taqwa Mosque, on December 10th, a member of the Bloods flashed his gun, warning the Muslim control people, "This is not over, it's just begun." The Clarion Project is the conflict began December the 10th when teenage boys allegedly disrespected a Muslim woman outside the mosque. She was probably wearing her hijab, and she looked like a tent with two eyes peeking out of it. Anyway, the boy did not touch the woman bystanders say, but did speak to her. Oh my God, he spoke to her. Oh my, man. A Muslim patrol member grabbed the teen by the collar and threw him against the gate of the mosque. While the boy was pressed firmly against the fence, the Muslim patrol member held him by the neck and lectured him. After a rebuke, the boy complained to his father, a senior member of the local Blood Gang. The father mobilized 6 other Blood members to join him and went to the mosque. A witness told the Clarion Project that one Blood member was armed. He raised his jacket and flashed a gun. Those dudes come out there to shoot up the mosque. The father, he wanted to miss the seat the MCP officer up. According to the witness, his father said to the Muslim patrol officer, "Dude, I'm going to bust you in your effing mouth if you ever put your hands on my child again." The witness, it was going to be something big out there. The blood members shouted, "You're all running around here playing like you're real police. You all want to put your hands on these little kids. We don't give a F about your mosque." The New York Police Department showed up and ordered the Bloods of the Muslim Community Patrol to disperse. The Gateway pundit noted the Muslim Community Patrol in Brooklyn is reminiscent of the Sharia police in London that enforces Sharia law in neighborhoods by harassing homosexuals, people who drink alcohol, and women in mini skirts. In 2002, Saudi Arabia's religious police, the Mataween, stopped schoolgirls from leaving a blazing building because they were not wearing correct Islamic dress, according to the Saudi newspaper. In a rare criticism of the religious police, officials known as the Commission on the Promotion of Virtue and Prevention of Vice, the BBC reported the Saudi media accused them of hindering attempts to save 15 girls who died in a fire. One witness said he saw 3 policemen beating a girl to prevent her from leaving the school because they were not wearing the hijabs, a cloak-like garment that covers their head. In other words, they weren't wearing the tent to cover the camel up. So, and this is the type people we're allowing into our country to come here and put this same shit on. And, well, we can do it in the name of religion because we are Muslim. And this is the way we want to live. Well, if that's the way you want to live, why'd you leave wherever it is you came from? If that's the way you want to live, go back to where you came from. You come here, we'll assimilate you if you will assimilate, but you don't want to assimilate. So what do you want to do? You want to build your own community, and you want to forgo our laws under our Constitution and install your own laws under Sharia law, and it don't work that way. And you want freedom of religion for you, but you don't want freedom of religion for others. And the times we live in, kids, we are headed for a real bad time of it. And Sharia law in action. Never thought I'd be supporting the Bloods. I have to float my stick with you, Emmy. I wouldn't think I'd do that. I would either, but hey, when it comes to this shit that's going on, you can't do it to us, but we can do it to you, is bullshit. We're supposedly all equal under the eyes of the Lord and under our law. Is the law being applied equally? No, I would say it's probably not. Okay, is the equality of us under the eyes of the Lord being applied equally? No, I would say probably not. And as long as we have one group of people whose basic religion calls for the death of all infidels, I don't think you're going to see equality of the both. There's always going to be that tension. There's been that tension among themselves over in the Middle East for over 2,000 years. What makes you think that coming here is going to stop anything from them? I was watching I believe it was History. It might have been Discovery. But anyway, they were talking about Nostradamus and his predictions. And his predictions were that there would be a cloud coming over the world which would lead to a third world war with And he said you'd be surprised as to where they were coming from, but he did say they would be wearing a blue turban. Okay, now, there are several religions that have turbans, but the one that comes to my first mind is the Muslims, Islamic jihadists, Islam. Those are the first ones that come to my mind. And where they don't wear blue, but wear what country, or what entity wears blue, and will allow or supply them with blue hats, helmets, beanies, turbans, wherever you want, when they decide to come in and take over a country and in the name of peace. Okay. And if you haven't figured it out, it's called the UN, United Nitwits and Blank Suckers. Yeah, the religion of peace. And yeah, these girls were, what I'm talking about at the end of that story, these girls were in a fire in a school. And because the police wouldn't allow them to flee that school because they weren't wearing the right proper clothing, they died. They perished in that fire. I don't know if anything ever happened to the police, but those guys should have been taken out and shot. Okay? And, but since they were enforcing Sharia law, probably nothing happened. They probably got a medal or something to that effect. But how would you expect them to get out and get the proper clothing in order to save their lives? So what would have been if you would have taken those kids home, got them proper clothing, and then taken them back to the mosque and re-entered them in there, and then let them come out because they had the proper clothing on? That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, it's for the children, all right. Yeah, if that's for, yeah, if that is the way they think for the thinking of children, the children would be better off without half the male, or not half the male, but half the human population. I'll let you pick what half I'm talking about. So, I've got a little one here. This is off of Newsmax. Remember all them robocalls that you've been getting? Especially about Medicare? Although I still see some on Medicare. But, yes, all those robocalls, anti-robocall bill to Trump. Senate sends the bill to Trump. The Senate has passed a bill that cracks down on robocalls, a persistent and costly problem for Americans. The bill has already passed the House and now goes to President Donald Trump for his signature. The bill is one of several measures that federal and local government and the telecom industry are taking to protect Americans from the billions of scam calls made each month. And that's right. The bill requires phone companies to offer free call blocking apps and verify the numbers calling you is real. That's an issue because fraudulent fake numbers too look as though they are coming from the IRS or others to pick your bill, to trick you. The bill is also strengthens enforcement tools against robocallers. Now, I have had calls from the IRS, supposedly the IRS, and they were telling me that if I didn't pay $5,280 right away, they had a warrant for my arrest. And each and every time they've called me, I told them, I said, well, how far away are your agents? So the agents are within an hour's drive of your place right at this present moment. I said, well, that's good. You tell them to come on out, and I will give them a check for the $5,280, but I want a receipt to show that I paid it. And then I get a hold of the local police and call them and tell them, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah, we've been hearing that. I said, well, this is what I told them. Well, good. If they do show up, call us. I said, do you want me to call you before I shoot them or after I shoot them? Oh, then you better call us before. And I said, well, if it goes to the point where they show up and they try to leave, I'm not going to worry about calling you before. I'll call you after. I will keep them there one way or another. So, nothing ever happens of it. It's a fake call. First of all, the IRS will not notify you by phone. They will send you letters, and they will send you registered letters, but they will not call you by phone. And so, anyway, as far as I know, they don't anyway. There ain't no 72 virgins in heaven anymore. Correct? There ain't even 72 virgins on this planet, let alone their heaven. And that's a misconception there. Bob, your mind is always in the gutter, isn't it? Unlimited booze and naked Valkyries. Well, hey, that might be all right. I'm getting tired, folks. I should not have drunk that rum. It's hitting me a little weird. See if I can smoke myself out of it just a minute here. While I try to light them up again. Oh, by the way, for all yous out there, if you smoke, the smoking lamp is lit. Repeat this. Now hear this. Now hear this. The smoking lamp is lit. Almost got it. Good old paper matches. Nothing like a puff. Yeah, I've been messing with them a little bit too. I tell them that again, they're talking about what they're, saying or trying to sell, and then I just say, when they get to the point where their tape says, this is on a recorded secure line, I said, good. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Don't effing call here again. Does it work? I don't know. But there's a couple switching stations in Pennsylvania that I learned where they're coming from. And one is St. Mary's, which is about 50, 60 miles from here. And then there's, the new one is out in Chula Vista, California. So, Anyway, that's the scoop that's going on there. Any of you guys out there? Yeah, thank God for caller ID, but that only gives you the number. Doesn't tell you who they is. At least mine don't. But I do like this idea. I'll have to start calling and answering 911. What is your problem? And then go from there to mess their mind up. That would really good. Put the trace on. Oh, make sure. Oh, by the way, folks, this line is traced, so if we have any problems with the call, we can double check everything for you and make sure we got all the information right. Okay, remember when I was spouting off about Virginia? Well, I just happened to run across the article that I was wanting to talk about. And this is off of WorldNet Daily. Rebel yell rings out as USMC Major warns Virginians are close to tipping point. The Virginia Democratic politicians appear to be ready to drive the state into a period of mass civil unrest with no regard for citizens' wishes. But conservatives in the Commonwealth will not be stripped of their rights without a fight. In face of the expected wide-reaching bans, on so-called assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, and other arms protected under the Second Amendment, Virginians are standing up to the Democratic tyranny. Even now, 79% of Virginia's counties have enacted some form of Second Amendment sanctuary laws, and that number is only expected to grow. It's safe to say opposition to proposed anti-gun laws is widespread. Despite this, the state Democratic leaders continue to threaten to use the force to bring its residents to heel. A major in the Marine Corps Reserve took an opportunity during the December 3rd meeting to warn the Board of Supervisors of Fairfax County about trouble on the horizon. Ben Johnson Woods spoke about his time in the military, his federal law enforcement career, and his fears about where politicians are taking Virginia. I work plainclothes law enforcement, Woods said. I walk around without a uniform. People don't see my badge. People don't see my gun. And I can tell you people are angry. Emphasis added. Woods said that the situation in Virginia is becoming so dangerous that he is close to moving his own wife and children out of the state. The reason is because my fellow law enforcement officers, I've heard on more than one occasion, tell me they would not enforce these bills regardless of whether they believe in them, believe in the idea. Woods, because they believe that there are so many people angry in gun shops, gun shows, and bars. And time to flip the page. Flip the page. You see that? How nice it was? I flipped the page. Heard it now. People are talking about tarring and feathering politicians in less than joking manner. As Woods mentioned, politicians themselves could very well be in danger because of their decision. Several rebel yells broke out as the crowd cheered him on. You can watch it, but I didn't. You can't. I don't have the button. But you can go to WorldNet Daily and pull it up. It was on the 19th. Let's see. As Wood mentioned, from the sounds of Wood's audience to the counties defying state leadership, it appears as though Virginians are more than willing to act to protect their own constitutional rights. Virginia Democrat leadership seems oblivious to the revolution brewing in their own state. As Wood and many others see the writing on the wall, Governor Ralph Northam and his allies continue to push their unconstitutional anti-gun agenda, inching the Commonwealth closer and closer to a dire consequence. This article was originally on the Western Journal. Okay, now let's discuss that out there, guys. You heard me. Remember I was telling you earlier that I'd seen some stuff on that? Well, there's what it is. And that was the 19th. I don't know how much it's grown now. But like I said, the governor has threatened to call in the National Guard if the counties do not go along with their communist philosophy. God, I can't believe my countrymen. I cannot believe that they allow the Democratic Party to lead them down into the... And socialism, folks, is just a polite name for communism. Communism leaves a bad taste, but socialism, oh my, that's okay, you know. But if you remember the name, I'll see if I can get it right. I know somebody out there in the chat will probably get it. What was I going to say? Oh, God, I lost it. Anyway, oh, yeah, the Soviet Union. Soviet Union was Union of Socialistic, Union of Democratic Socialist Republic. And so how can you be democratic if you're a socialist? But we're a socialist democratic republic. Okay, it's a duality of terms for the name. But it just boils down to that they're disguising their communism by calling it democratic. And socialism, well, socialism is okay because it doesn't allow any one person to have more than the other person, and if whatever their basic needs are, the state will provide one way or the other. Yeah, well, somebody has to pay for that. It's the same. It doesn't matter if it's socialism or if it's a free market. Somebody has to pay for it. And the way you pay for it is taxes. You tax the people that have the ability to excel. And under the socialist agenda, if you are a sports person, why, you get the best of training and you get the best of food, and your family gets the same thing. You get the best of food and you get a better type of housing. If you're just a run-of-the-mill, I think they let you go to school to the 7th grade, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I had to do any talking about this, but if you're one of the ones that don't have the ability to excel either sports-wise or talent-wise for some other thing like a ballet art dancer or whatever, musician, whatever, why then you get your choice of some of these salt mines and other camps. Now I understand that since the communist government, the Soviet of Unions, has supposedly broke up, things have gotten better, and in some instances some of them have gotten better. Of course, anything that's gives you something that you couldn't get under the old thing is better. Anyway, that's the way they keep you under control. Keep you dumb, so that you don't question, but to show people that how well your system works. You have your star athlete, your star musician, your star whatever, and they get the best of everything, along with your block commissar. Don't forget the block commissar. Okay? And he's the one that goes around and hides underneath the steps, and if he thinks you're bad-mouthing or doing something against the state, then he goes and gets a hold of the Gestapo. Oh, I'm sorry, Gestapo was the Nazis. The KGB. Okay? So, anyway, that's the way things are stacking up, and that's why people are getting more bold, is because the people, for years, and I have said this for years, ever since I started the radio station, there would be no need for people like us to be out here risking our neck, because that's what we're doing. And if everybody, and I mean everybody, would do their job as citizens, okay? A free country like what we were supposed to be or was envisioned requires effort on the citizenship. It requires, under the state mandates in most of the states, every state has one some sort, requires you to be a member of a militia and to maintain a weapon of the times and an ample amount of accoutrements that go along with your service. And that's including having X number of rounds of ammo and X number of rounds of silver to pay for your stuff. And then once a week, usually on Sunday afternoon after going to church, you all met on the town green and did a bunch of basic drills, marching and that. And then if you weren't there, you got fined. You got a $10 fine. So, that's one of the things that you're supposed to be doing as a citizen. But we are civilized now. We don't need that. We got the standing army. Well, the standing army is fine for defending us overseas, but it's not. It's unconstitutional to use it here in this country on the American citizens. Okay. The other thing is get out and vote. And then the next thing is to go and require your representatives to come home once in a while and have a town meeting, and everybody go to that town meeting and beef your concerns. And then if he turns a deaf ear, the next election you remove his damn ass from office. Okay? And that was one of the other things that our not founding fathers, but later, around the turn of the 19th century, turn of the 20th century, because we're now in the 21st, yeah. Around 1913, I think it was the original 13th Amendment that forbid lawyers from running and holding office. And I mentioned that earlier because it did not make it to the Washington in time, for whatever reason, even though it was voted on before the prescribed expiration date. The documents did not make it until after the expiration date, so it was shit-canned. It was thrown out, and then the next 13th Amendment was put in its place. So, you have to yeah, I think that the good people of Virginia don't need our help there. Should be enough of them to get the job done. Yes, they shouldn't. But because it is happening in Virginia, you have to now keep an eye on your state, especially with the primaries coming up in April and May. The governors that are coming up for re-election should be voted out, and at least the Democrats in the House and the Senate that are coming up for re-election should be voted out, because if you don't vote them out and send some new people down there, they're going to continue to waste money and do nothing, and I repeat, do nothing to protect this country in the way that they are mandated by the Constitution. They are doing everything but. So, on that note, it is about 6 minutes to 7. I am going to see if I can play some music, and you guys listen to see if you can hear it, and if I can hear it, I will turn it up. You're right about that, Bob. But sooner or later, if you don't want to get your ass scored, you have to put the YouTube down, and you've got to put your Facebook down, because the goring is coming. Okay. Well, let me see if I can get something to pop up here, kids. Alright, there's that. Where's that disc go? I had a disc here. But I know that. Oh, there it is. I done did it. We're gonna. Just a minute. Let me get this out. I don't know if I have to push play or anything like that, but this should tell me what to do. This is some Patriot music that I carried in my car. I don't hear nothing. Here we go. Play. I don't know if it's playing or not. I can't hear nothing, so I don't think that it is. Can you kids hear nothing? Yeah. Well, I don't see or hear it playing. Okay, folks, me tried, could not get nothing to work, so I will have to come down here and play with this. It's supposed to be somewhat nice as far as temperature goes until like Thursday, so I may try to come down here this week and see what I can do now that I know how to open another tab in the browser, point at YouTube and play some Lindsey Sterling. Well, we have to figure that out. I don't want to do it on airtime because well, just waste too much airtime. I can waste the time during the day when I'm supposedly doing nothing and resting. Okay, like I said, we're going to be bouncing around over several different topics, and remember, can you hear me fine? I'm back on the air doing the audio. So I just want to make sure that nothing got turned off. And yeah, I'm gonna pop the CD tonight when I get up there. I'll tell you what, I have real bad nerve neuropathy in my feet, and since I started taking that CBD capsule, it is beating the neuropathy down, and it is how do I say, it's keeping my feet from swelling like they used to. Of course, the left leg, the doctor said that don't count because that's where we took the vein for your heart. Well, that may very well be that's where you did it, but it was still swelling. Well, there's practically none there now. The only time I get some in that foot's when I've been on it too long, and the hip starts to hurting too bad, and that so. But the CBD capsules seem to be working for me. I don't know how they are for other people, but that's oh my. Oh no, I'll save that for next week. Save that for next week. Anyway, who's your? Okay, before I start, January the 14th and 15th, I don't have the flyers down in front of me, but I believe there's a gun show at Yankee Lake at the Yankee Lake Ballroom over in Ohio. It's over in Brookfield, Ohio. Then after that, the end of January is Coney Lake, the Coney Lake Sportsman's Club. I can't think of the date. I have all that up the house. Then February 2nd, 1st and 2nd. February 1st and 2nd, I have the show at Chapmanville, at the Chapmanville Fire Hall, and I desperately need to get a good turnout for that show. And I just got my second notice of my taxes, and even though I have paid, I've already paid them $500, give or take a few dollars. They sent me a bill for $2,850. That's $2,850. So I have to, in January and February and March, April, try to come up with that $2,800 so that I can get a $600 rebate back from the state, in which I can use to pay another tax that will be coming in February or March, which will be for $900. So, anyway, that tells you where I'm at, folks, as far as finances go. I just don't know how long I'm going to be able to continue the station going and paying $100 a month for the electric bill on it. So I hate to sound like I'm crying for money all the time, but I'm the one who puts the bill for this. The local donations have dried up. I tried to get Mike to make an ad that we could use to put on the programming, but he passed away before that, and the other guy who set up Radio DJ has been working like crazy out of town, so I will give him another call tomorrow when I get home. When I get home from the doctor's. Mother and I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning. So, anyway, if you can find it in your hearts, I sure could use some financial help. However you guys out there want to do it, that's up to you. But you can send cash, or you can send checks with the payee blank, or you can make them out to me and send them to Braveheart Radio, 9931 Williamson Road, Meadville, PA, 16335. Again, that's 9931 Williamson Road, Meadville, PA, 16335. And if there's any of you local listeners that are out there driving around, feel free to bring a donation to the house. I won't bite. Just call or leave a message on my answering machine. The number is area code 814-724-4011. I generally don't answer the phone until after I hear what the person is talking about, because there has been so many damn robocalls. And this last Sunday, a week ago today, starting at about 4:30, Apple Incorporated, I had 8 calls in 30 minutes from them. I didn't answer them. After the first one, they didn't leave a message. After that, I just started pushing the button to answer and then click it off. Answer and then click it off. So, if you want to call and leave a message, that's fine. I don't blank it off on the first call until I see who it is. And okay. All donations would be helpful, even a cup of coffee from time to time. Anyhow, well, now let's see. Remember, now that the impeachment's over, well, it's not over. It's not over there. It's not over down there. And maybe 63 million ought to be joined by another 63 million and tell them it is over down there. Yeah, but anyhow. This is off of WorldNet Daily, out of the Western Journal. After loudly booing 63 million Trump voters, House Dems voted to impeach Trump. Now, I don't know if any of you watched any of the impeachment vote. I happened to be there when this happened, and it just pissed me the fucking off. Oops, I'm sorry. I should not have said that. There might be little ears out there. Little ears? Plug them, please. Thank you. Oh, okay, Bob. You want to eat Punxsutawney Phil? He's an old rodent. If you want to eat a woodchuck, you got to get them young in the spring when they're nice and juicy and tender. Don't ask me how I know. Anyway, the House of Representatives voted Wednesday evening to impeach President Donald Trump, making him just the 3rd U.S. president in history to be impeached. Trump was impeached along overwhelming partisan lines, with 2 Democrats, Minnesota Representative Colin Peterson and New Jersey Representative Jeff Van Drew, voting against the first article of impeachment. Drew is reported planning to switch parties in the coming days, though he voted Wednesday as a Democrat. So he voted as a Democrat, but he voted no. Okay, so now he's changing parties. The final vote on the first article was 230 in favor and 197 against. No Republicans voted yes on the first article. Democrat Representative Tulsa Gabbard of Hawaii voted president. Doesn't have the balls to stand up and vote yes or no. And so the House had drawn up 2 articles of impeachment against the president, charging him with the abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Doesn't that sound like what's going on right now? Anyway, I don't know. The House voted on articles alleging abuse of power first, following hours of debate on the floor of the lower chambers of Congress. Prior to the vote, Democrats loudly booed when House Minority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana mentioned that the 63 million Americans who voted for Trump in November of 2016. This isn't just about Trump, Scalia says. They don't just hate Trump, Madam Speaker. They hate the 63 million Americans who voted for the president, the forgotten men and women of this country who have been left behind. Right after Scalise mentioned the tens of millions of people who cast their ballot for Trump, loud booing could be heard echoing throughout the chamber. Goddamn assholes. Yeah, they're telling me my vote don't count. As journalists noted on Twitter, Republican members of Congress responded by booing down their Democratic colleagues. We have a boo contest here. The second article, meanwhile, passed the House as well. Maine Democrat Representative Jared Golden joined Van Drew and Peterson in voting against the second article. Gabbard voted president again. In other words, she has no applause. Trump did ask Zelensky to look into allegations of shady dealings involving former President Joe Biden and his son Hunter in Ukraine, but Democrats have taken things a step further, claiming Trump planned to withhold about $400 million in military aid unless Ukraine publicly announced an investigation of his political opponent, Joe Biden. I want to inject something here. In all these stories that are written, even this one, they all forget to mention that while Biden was vice president, under abomination, their connection with the Ukraine and Bismuth, the energy company there, was being investigated by the Ukrainians. Obama put pressure on the Ukrainians to stop the investigation. So basically, when Trump was talking to him, he was asking them if they had started or if they are going to start investigating the Bidens again. So if you want abuse of powers, go back and get the asshole who was president before him, before Trump. Okay, let's see. Okay, while he was vice president, Biden pressured Ukraine to fire a prosecutor who had investigated Bismuth Holdings, an energy company where Hunter sat on the board. Trump eventually released the aid to Ukraine, even though the investigation into Biden's was never launched. As for obstruction of Congress, House Judicial Committee Chairman Representative Jared Nader said at a news conference earlier this month, a president who declares himself above accountability, above the American people, and above congressional power of impeachment, which is meant to protect against threats to our democratic institutions. We're not democratic, you dumb fuck. We're a constitutional limited republic. Is the president who sees himself as above the law. No, he don't see himself above the law. Democratic leaders made impassioned and passion speeches Wednesday in favor of impeaching Trump, which we all know they were going to do. For centuries, Americans have fought and died to defend democracy. No, it was to defend the republic. But very sadly now our founders' vision of a republic, you gotta see that, our founders' vision of a republic, oh my God, how'd that get in here? Is under threat from actions from the White House. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in the speech that kicked off the debate according to CNBC. That is why today, as Speaker of the House, I solemnly and sadly open the debate on the impeachment of the President of the United States, the California Democrat said. If we do not act now, we would be derelict in our duty. You're derelict in your duty because you haven't acted on other things. You just wasted money on this. House Intelligence Committee Representative Adam Schiff, whose committee did much of the work investigating Trump, claimed Trump tried to use his power for his own personal gain. He doesn't care about Ukraine or the impact on our national security caused by withholding military aid to country fighting for its democratic life. Well, they can call that democratic life over there in Ukraine. They may be fighting for what they call a republic too, but who knows? Anyway. Schiff said Wednesday, as U.S. Today reported, all that matters to this president is what affects he personally and investigation into political rival and chance to cheat in the next election. Talk about cheaters. What the fuck? Trump, for his part, has defended himself in a furious statement posted on Twitter. Such atrocities lies by the radical left. Do nothing, Democrats, is an assault on America and an assault on the Republican Party. Trump joins Andrew Johnson, and Bill Clinton as the only presidents to be impeached. But while Trump was impeached in the Democratic-dominated House, two-thirds majority of the Senators need to convict and remove him from office. Since the Republicans hold a 53 to 47 majority in the upper chamber of Congress, it's highly unlikely Trump will be removed via impeachment. This also appeared in the Western Journal. Now, they knew all this before they were going into the impeachment. That most likely if they impeached him and sent the papers over to the Senate, that he would not be impeached because the Republicans have demonstrated their strength behind the president. Plus the fact it takes 3/4 of the Senate to do that. So, there are in the Senate, I believe, 102 representatives now that Washington, D.C. has been given a voting access. I believe that's how it is. So, 75% would be about, what did I say, 3/4 of the thing, or 2/3? Oh, let me go back. I gotta go back. Back. Two-thirds majority. So, in order to impeach Trump, there are 47 Democrats. So I'm going to stick with my first estimate of 102. So, 63 votes. There would have to be 47 from 63, 10, that's 6. There would have to be 16 Republicans become turncoats in order for Trump to be removed from office. So basically all this boils down to is 3 months or 4 months of Congress doing nothing, distracting the American public, and getting fat on our taxpayers' dollars because they knew this was not a go. Yeah, that. Let's see. I missed that one, Emmy. You want to elaborate more on that? For those of you out there that aren't, they're listening but don't have the chat going, old Maxine Waters almost had a fit trying to get in front of the cameras to say they screwed Trump over. Well, in a way, Congress doing nothing is not bad, but just think if they were in support of the president, how much faster the border wall would be done to help improve the security of our country and allow us to divert our attentions to other things that need to be done. And that. But, so, be that as it may, the part that bugs me, even if they don't do nothing, like you said, was the money that they wasted. The money they wasted on this this investigation and that. I don't know how much it would be, but I wouldn't even want half of it. I wouldn't even want a third. I don't even, maybe, I'd be happy to get 1/5 of the money that they wasted. Taxpayers' money. That's why your taxes are so high, because we have to pay for their foolishness. And they don't have to pay for it. Which means, I think we need a constitutional amendment that makes it that if Congress is going to hold impeachment hearings on anybody, any office, then maybe what they ought to be doing is paying for it themselves. Then we'll see how many times impeachment is being brought in. And that, so, but anyway. And that, so, yeah, well, you're right there about that, I mean, he did have them on the 2016, but there was a lot of residue. He may have had the majority in both houses, but he didn't have a big enough majority. Okay, a lot of times that's the problem. You can have a majority if it's a narrow majority of 1 or 2. It's not a big enough majority. You have to have them outnumbered, like, well, here, 16 more, or 14 more Republicans in the Senate than there are Democrats. And that, so. What about Mueller's report that cost a penny? I have no idea. And if you got an answer, spill it forth, young lady. And that. So, well, I see that the number of people watching are dropping. There's only 5 of you watching. That just goes to show you that I'm not doing a very good job by myself. I'm discouraging all those others out there from listening, but here, I'm good. I guess I'll have to do this one. I gotta do this one. It's not a long one, but this is off of WorldNet Daily. Climate protesters try to stop Coltrane, learn important lesson about momentum. A group of climate protesters got a lesson in basic physics during an attempt to stop a moving freight train loaded down with coal. The incident occurred after activists attempted to stop the cargo in Massachusetts late Monday night. It doesn't appear anyone was hurt, despite the potentially deadly nature of the stunt. According to the WBUR, the protesters jumped away from the tracks when the train was a mere 50 feet away. A train carrying coal to New Hampshire nearly ran over a dozen climate activists who tried to block it in Worcestershire. WBUR Marion Wasser tweeted, "This happened after someone further south on the tracks called the emergency hotline twice to report that there were people on the tracks." The protesters belong to a group that have made a habit of blocking coal shipments in New England, including climate disobedience centers and 350 New Hampshire action. According to the 350 New Hampshire, the train crew knew protesters were on the track and simply refused to stop. I wouldn't have stopped either. Of course, anyone who knows the first thing about trains can tell you that these industrial behemoths can't stop on a dime. Depending on the cargo weight and speed of the train, it'd take miles for one of these massive machines to come to a complete halt. Until the train stops, there's not much that can be done to slow it down. With full loads, trains can weigh millions of pounds. At speeds and momentum of these machines means that they can even shred tractor trailer rigs like tissue paper. If that sounds impossible, just watch the videotape below. Well, I didn't print the video out, so you can't watch it. You just have to go find it. Of course, if you watch the news, you'll see that it's on the news all the time where a train hit a truck or whatever. Well, I shouldn't say all the time, but quite often. If a train is able to tear an 18-wheeler apart like that, protesters don't stand much of a chance. Despite the danger in their particular type of climate activism, these protesters succeed in stalling a train earlier this month. A post from the Climate Disobedience Center celebrated that blockage. What this post failed to mention is the time the train spent idling because of protesters. Engines still consuming fuel, and extra fuel needs to get a train up to speed. Once the protesters were removed, surely added to the trip's total carbon footprint. Perhaps most hypocritical is the technology these climate activists use to spread their message. Unless these protesters are running their electronics off a solar charger, there is a good chance that the trains being stopped are delivering coal that will go to the power the various devices used to further their cause. Okay, now, my dad worked for the railroad. And when he first started working for the railroad, he was up on the engine. And there used to be three people in the cab of a train back then, and then two people down in the caboose. That was when they were running cabooses, which they don't run anymore. But anyway, there was an engineer, a fireman, and a brakeman in the front. And then there was a switchman and conductor in the back. And in the caboose. Now, you have a train. I don't know how many cars this was, but my dad hauled an average of 125 cars, boxcars and gondolas, and tankers, filled with whatever stuff was in there. And they have sidings along their way where they have to pull over and wait for another oncoming train to go the other way. They have to start braking miles before that in order to slow down slow enough so that the brakeman can go out and throw the front switch to throw them onto the track, to the siding. Then he climbs back aboard the engine, and they coast themselves slowly off the track onto the siding, and these sidings are miles long because these trains are long. So anyway, then the switchman in the back and the caboose gets out, and he throws the switch to open the track back up so that the oncoming train that they had to move over for, okay, can get by them. Now, in the meantime, while they're waiting for that train to go by, if there are any refrigeration cars, they have to start from the front end and the back end. The engineer stays with the train, the brakeman and the fireman walk down each side of the train from the engine towards the caboose, and then the engineer and the other switchman from the caboose walk towards the engine, and every boxcar that has a refrigeration unit on it, they have to go up and climb up onto the top of it and check it to make sure it's running. And then they go back and turn around and have to go back. These trains, when you talk about 125 cars, are a mile long or better. You figure the average, I think the average length of the car was 55 feet. So you take 100 of them, that's 5,000 feet, that's a mile. Okay, so anyway, there are times when he was going through some road crossings where the lights were flashing and somebody decided at the last minute to try and dodge the train to sneak through, and it didn't work. And unfortunately, the train hit the guy, person, whatever, I forget what it was, guy, person. That really doesn't matter. They hit him, they were going 55 miles an hour on an open track, and it took them a quarter of a mile, that's a quarter of a mile, to stop in order to pry the remnants of the car off the front end of the train. Quarter of a mile. And so just go, you want to stand there, you 50 or 60 people, and hold your arms across and sing Kumbaya as the train's coming on, just stay there. And anybody that's stupid, we need to take care of so they can't, we need to sterilize them so they can't contaminate the gene pool. God, the stupidity abounds, and it keeps getting worse and worse as time goes on. Amtrak goes 80, yeah, well that's what they do now, but back in the sections of Pennsylvania where they were coming around from Chicago to Meadville, which was the midpoint, the halfway point between Chicago and New York was here in Meadville. That's why we had such a large station up here, our yard. But because of the towns and stuff that they were have to go through a number of roads, they were only allowed to go 55. And but Amtrak, hey, you see what happens when you drive a train 80 miles an hour over tracks that haven't been maintained very well. They have a tendency to jump. So he deserved a Darwin Award. Let's see. Yeah, out there where you're at, Emmy, it could very well be. In fact, to tell you how bad things got here was there was a hurricane that comes through in the old Erie-Lackawanna Railroad. Had to file bankruptcy, and it was absorbed by Conrail. Now, here's the good one. Remember what I said earlier, that Meadville was the halfway point between Chicago and New York, the shortest route. Well, when Conrail took over, they stripped the Meadville yards and had the most modern, updated repair shop in the northwestern corridor of the United States. And it also had a car fabricating shop where they made boxcars. Okay, they had a switch shop in which they repaired switches, and they had a roundhouse where they turned engines around. Of course, quite do that anymore because the engines go forward or backwards. But they were the most updated facility. And even though they were, well, Penn Central, which was going down through Pittsburgh and down around that way into New York, New Jersey into New York, that was a longer way around because they come down out of Chicago, down through Toledo, or over to Toledo, and swung, oh no, wait a minute, I'll take that back. They swung south out of Chicago, went down to Pittsburgh to go through the Penn Central lines, and yeah. But here's an interesting thought for you to show you how bureaucracy works. Back when Penn Central was taken over by Conrail, it was because they were the 17 presidents and vice presidents had pretty near bankrupt that company. So Conrail took them over. That's a government entity formed by the government to run the railroads. They took over, and every time a railroad would go bankrupt, they would be absorbed into Conrail, yeah. Okay. So what they did was they stripped all the modern facilities and ran all the lines down through Pittsburgh the long way around. And guess who was put in charge of running the railroad since the government didn't know how to run one? And that was the 17 vice presidents of Penn Central that were put in charge of running Conrail. So after this hurricane bankrupted the Erie-Lackawanna Railroad, they were taken over and slowly eaten up by them, and yeah, it was split. Conrail got the freight, and Amtrak, which was the next part I was going to, got the passengers. And for some reason or other, they thought the two different entities would be able to work better, but you only have a certain number of lines between here and there, and we haven't built any, and they haven't been repairing them like they should for a while. They probably are now because they've had over the years several numbers of derailments, and so yeah, I got to Baltimore, Ohio too. So you're right. Anyway, I'm glad to see all you people out there are paying attention because the railroad sits in my heart because my dad worked there, and my dad stuck me on a train and took me with him on his trips going west several different times. And so, well, we're down to 4 watchers. Am I that boring? I must be. Anyway, let's see. Oh, come on, brain. I got 13 minutes, so let's see what this see if this is what I want to use. I'm sorry for the delay. I thought I wanted to use that one. Yeah, there's a couple there can wait till next week. I'll do this one since how we're still working on the impeachment. Trump's Insider. Trump plans to make Dems pay over impeachment. This is off the WorldNet Daily. And by rights, by God, he should. Okay. The Democrat-controlled House of Representatives was embroiled in a heated debate all day on Wednesday over articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. The futile effort was doomed for failure in the Republican-controlled Senate. If those House Democrats thought the president would be cowering and crying into his Twitter machine during the proceedings, however, they would be sorely mistaken. Rather than sit back and wait while the Democrats press forward with the impeachment, Trump and his team have gotten on the offensive and are holding nothing back as they have promised swift and severe political retribution for the Democrats' attempt to oust him from office over the contrived controversy and manufactured grievances. The Washington Times reported on Wednesday that Trump campaign spokesman Ernie Perney had revealed that Team Trump will hold Democrats accountable for every lie they made today, and voters will hold them accountable in November 2020. Well, hopefully in the primaries that come up in April, May, and June, a lot of those are beat out by people that are running against them. And so anyhow, let's see. Democrats are preparing to make the biggest mistake in American history because they can't get past their blind hatred of Trump. That is true. That's what it all boils down to. They just don't like him. They haven't liked him since the day he decided to run. The spokesman also mentioned Trump's Merry Christmas themed campaign rally in Michigan on Wednesday evening, which she said offered a clear contrast to the Democrats' impeachment. Dems in the swamp on one side overturning the 2016 election, and the other side, President Trump is rallying freedom-loving Americans to gather today to celebrate the greatness of our country, she said. Nor was that an idle threat. Trump did indeed make prolific use of his Twitter account Wednesday to push back against his partisan opponents, though he most certainly wasn't cowering in the corner of the White House while doing so. He was not alone in that effort either, as both the official Team Trump campaign account and the affiliated Trump War Room account engaged in an onslaught of tweets throughout the day, most notably highlighting and sharing the past statements decrying impeachment from prominent Democrats that directly contradict their current calls for the ouster of the president. Interspersed through all those posts were videos, clips, and reports showing how thousands of enthusiastic Trump supporters have been waiting in line for hours, some even since Tuesday night, for the start of Trump's evening rally in Battle Creek, Michigan. And that's just the social media aspect of Trump's team counteroffensive against impeachment. Additionally, both the Trump campaign and Republican National Committee have stepped up ongoing advertisement efforts in key battleground states and swing districts, particularly those districts which Trump won in 2016, but nevertheless cited moderate Democrats to Congress in 28. Elected moderate Democrats to Congress in 2018. Well, see, this is 2019. I gave them enough time to be corrupted by the rest of the Democrats. Anyway, the Times noted that the pro-Trump advertisement directly targeting the Democratic lawmakers in those districts were part of a $10 million advertising blitz focused on not only urging those lawmakers to oppose their party on impeachment, but also encouraging voters to consider voting those lawmakers out if they insisted on supporting the effort. That's what needs to be done. Vote them out. Despite blanket media coverage, the overt support of the Democratic impeachment effort, or perhaps because of it, the majority of the recent polls show that a plethora of American voters now firmly oppose the partisan proceedings as revealed by the Real Clear Politics average of polls, which for the first time ever shows opposition with the edge over support as of Wednesday. Meanwhile, other polling has shown that the president's approval rating has been trending up during the impeachment charade, and he is now beating all of his potential Democratic 2020 opponents in the hypothetical head-to-head matchup. none of which bodies votes well for the president's haters who demand removal from office. This sham impeachment effort has backfired tremendously on the Democrats, and if the Trump team continues its offensive until election day, and it is combined with continuing surge in the economy, the Democrats will almost certainly pay a hefty political price for the miscalculation when it comes time to count the votes next November. That's if they don't cheat and bring up the dogs and the cats and people in the cemetery and allow them to vote. So, well, gee, that took 7 minutes. I've got 11 minutes left to go. Well, my voice is pretty well shot, but friends, oh, Martin, ho, ho, ho. Okay, where? About time you showed up, Marty. Okay, apparently these guys know him. Of course, I don't get a chance to read all these until after the show. I usually do it in the morning and see what's going on. There are no good Democrats or moderate Democrats. Well, I have to agree with you. The biggest problem is they're fucking they're brain dead, and their body's trying to shit it out their ass. Not even the dead ones. Winter, they just won't die. They just keep getting older. Yeah, sooner or later they're going to get old enough that they're going to get the plug pulled on them. And I'll tell you this, I don't think I'd want to be in heaven at the pearly gates when they get up there. I have a feeling they got another rude awakening when they get there. I see there's a lot of stuff going on with Ginsburg lately. Have you guys seen some of the stuff that she's been supposedly doing and saying? They rolled her out again. So anyway, I'll talk about a couple things here. Out in California, the California legislature voted to increase the minimum wage by, I don't know what their total thing is, but they're voted to raising the minimum wage $13. That's $1 an hour above what it was. And then every year after that, for so many years, it's going to be raised by 50 cents an hour until they get to what they classify as a living wage. Well, if inflation keeps going up, then they will never reach the living age unless, living wage. Anyway, they will never make it. Plus the fact that here's here's one of the small businesses. The wage increase have cost his business approximately $40,000 more every year since the legislature, and another increase would be crippling. Okay, so they are going to drive the small business out. Now, it's a certain amount if you have more than 26 employees. It's a smaller amount if you have less than 26 employees, but it does keep going up regardless. And the legislature wants everybody to, I guess, here's another one, to smoke. Perry Restaurant Paul said the legislators want everybody to make $20 an hour, but for the smaller guy, I can't. Okay? You want me to pay $20 an hour for people out there that are... Most of these small jobs are designed as entry-level jobs where you go in and you get a job and you learn something about whatever it is that you're doing, working or doing at that factory. And then as you gain experience, you can go out and find better paying jobs and show that you are worth the money that they're paying you. A lot of people want this money because they got a job, it's being paid, they don't have any responsibilities, real responsibilities, so they want $20 an hour, just like, I don't know who to compare it to, because teachers are making well over $20 an hour. Car manufacturers, people work in the car industry, like assembly lines, they're making well over $20 an hour. And but you have to remember one thing, folks. Two things happen when you raise the minimum wage. Without increased productivity, you end up getting higher prices. And if you don't get increased productivity so that you can pay those higher wages, people lose their jobs. I have two employees, both making $10 an hour. But if they bump me up to $20 an hour, what's going to happen? One of those employees is going to go. Because I cannot afford to pay both of them $20 an hour. Okay. Now, that one person that he kept is now getting the $20 an hour is going to have to do the work of two people. And so it goes on and on and on. And the sad part of it is these people that are pushing these different minimum wage laws, they forgot what it's like to have to work for a living. They're getting big fat salaries where they can vote their salary. Oh, it don't come in until next year. Yeah, but you voted for it, right? Yeah, oh, okay, you gave yourself a pay raise. The only thing you have to do to get back there and get that pay raise is to get reelected. And that. So, they've forgotten what it's like to have to earn, and they forgot what it's like to be a person that has to hire inexperienced help. That's what most of these jobs are for, is for the inexperienced help. To get them to know how to, number one, follow orders. Number two, develop a working routine. And number three, develop some company loyalty to the company, not just a paycheck. Okay? And how to work well with others. Okay? So these are all entry level jobs. I mean, you can, if you learn and you want to go on, you can go find a better job because you now have developed a job resume, a job skill. Even if you want to go and learn a different skill, because you have spent the time to learn one, people will hire you and train you to do things the way they want you to do it. So on that note, I got 3 minutes, and I'm glad to see you guys out there, and again, I appreciate it if you could send me some donations to help keep this thing running. And hopefully next Sunday we will be here, because it's in between Christmas and New Year's. I won't be going much of anywhere. Mom's better, but she's still not up to snuff. So I will be here next Sunday. Hopefully Scott Grinnell will be here next Sunday. Maybe Mr. T will be here, but I wouldn't count on it. When I talked to him yesterday to wish him Merry Christmas, kind of thinks it's going to probably be the week after the first Sunday in January, first Sunday in the new year. So, on that note, folks, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Spread the word, get more people to sign up, try and get more people to watch, try and get more people to listen. And if you can, I appreciate any donations that you can give me. At that point, folks, arrivederci. Bon voyage. Goodbye.